What can you expect when you're too strong for the narcissist? They are nothing if not predictable. Let's discuss. Hey friends, Tamie M. Joyce here, empowerment life coach, creator of the Freedom class and the Ascension class. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. I am so happy that you're here. And if you'd like to learn more about my coaching programs or how to become a coaching client, there's a link in the description below this video where you can apply to see if you qualify for a free one-on-one consultation with either myself or a member of my team. So let's dive into what you can expect when a narcissist sees you as being too strong. When they see that you're more confident, clear, and empowered than they'd like. Meaning, they aren't going to be able to have their way with you, and they know it, and they don't like that. The thing to remember is, people with a destructive narcissist personality pattern are nothing if not predictable. And for that reason, there are some very specific things they'll do, quite predictably, once they realize you're no pushover, and you aren't going to be easily manipulated, dominated, or fooled for that matter. Now, depending on what particular brand of destructive narcissist you're dealing with, you may have any of the following experiences. Like, for example, with a more fragile covert narcissist, otherwise known as the vulnerable narcissist, they'll actually be attracted to your strength, your confidence, your courage, and your personal power. Initially. But inevitably, they'll be triggered and they'll feel threatened by it. The moment your strong nature begins to shine a light on their own inadequacies, shortcomings, lack of personal integrity, or moral compass, your personal power, strength, and resolve will become a problem. And in their mind, you'll become their adversary and therefore a target. Fair game, so to speak. Out of nowhere, you'll become the villain and they, of course, the victim, which is always the case when we're dealing with a covert narcissist. They are forever and always the victim in every situation, even to circumstances they themselves have not only created, but also perpetuate. Know anyone like this? This is a big clue that you're dealing with a covert narcissist. Now that said, a more overt, grandiose narcissist will initially find your strength and personal power very attractive. Again, initially. In fact, they'll find the challenge of your strength and confidence irresistible. That is, until they aren't getting their way. Until it becomes clear that you aren't so easily manipulated, dominated, controlled, duped, or deceived. Then your strength and personal power will become a big problem for the narcissist, which of course will frustrate the narcissist to no end, and therefore justify in their mind any destructive or retaliatory behavior on their part. What many people don't realize is narcissists don't go after just anybody. If you're being targeted by a destructive narcissist in any way, it's likely because you bring a lot of good stuff to the relationship dynamic. You carry a lot of light, a lot of love and compassion, all good things. You're not only highly empathic, but also deeply loving, kind, decent, and good. Not perfect, but good. And you have a lot of good stuff going for you. In essence, you are the exact opposite of what the narcissist is, and they know it. Furthermore, you're probably really smart and at least relatively accomplished, meaning in their mind, you either serve some important purpose and/or you make them look good because you look good, and therefore you enhance their image, and they like that in the beginning. So, your strength and personal power and all the good things that make you you are very attractive for the narcissist in the early stages, for no other reason than they're always operating from a what's in it for me perspective. The problem, however, is that narcissists have to exert authority over others. They also have to create and maintain a perception of superiority, no matter how false that perception may be in reality. So, needless to say, sooner or later, your strength and personal power are going to become very problematic for the narcissist. Depending on the circumstances, sometimes that'll become obvious very quickly. In some cases, immediately even. Other times, it'll take longer for it to manifest as an actual issue that's problematic to the relationship dynamic. And when it does, you'll know it because the shift will be real. Now, although a covert narcissist may be able to hide the fear, jealousy, and insecurity that your strength and personal power have triggered within them, they'll hide it for a time. A more overt narcissist will swing from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde on a dime. They won't likely be able to hide their wounded ego or the fact that they've been easily triggered. In my opinion and experience, all narcissists are both phony and sneaky. But a covert narcissist, well, they're professionals when it comes to the world of make-believe and let's pretend. To say that they are phony and sneaky would be a colossal understatement. Now, that said, it's also important to remember that narcissistic people need to be in a position of dominance and control over others. The thing is, all is well as long as they're getting their way and getting their needs met. But the moment that's not the case, be careful. Once they're not getting their way, once it becomes clear that they're not in control, once you're not complying or, God forbid, you accidentally show them up somehow, like, for example, by shining a little too bright or simply by being who you are naturally, well, what happens is, whether you realize it or not, their ego takes a hit, and sometimes a big hit. The important thing to remember is it's their stuff, not yours. If they can't gaslight you into some form of submission, compliance, or feelings of inferiority, if they can't manipulate, dominate, or control you, then given the limited tools they have to work with in their emotional and psychological toolbox, they'll be left with no other choice than to target you differently, more passively, but just as destructively, if not more so, and more overt and direct tactics as well. And this is usually done by working to manipulate and control how other people see you. When a narcissist can't control you, they feel threatened by you. And when they feel threatened by you, they'll have to deal with that threat to their false persona in the only way they know how. Usually that will mean working to control how others see and perceive you, how others feel about you. They'll literally go out of their way to discredit, diminish, and demean you as a preemptive measure. And the reality is, this can be going on long before you even realize there's a problem. Remember, they are fake and phony, and they lie with tremendous ease. Zero regret, remorse, guilt, or shame. No conscience. So they're able to tell lies by omission as well as lie outright without even batting an eyelash. So they have no problem showing up and pretending that all is well, while simultaneously assassinating your character the moment your back is turned. And it doesn't matter the relationship dynamic. Narcissistic parents do this to their children that they can't succeed in manipulating, dominating, or controlling. And of course, narcissistic in-laws jump at the chance to do this as quickly as possible, lest anyone in the family see the newcomer or the outsider in a favorable light. Now that wouldn't do, would it? Right? Narcissistic siblings, as well as narcissistic relatives, friends, bosses, ex-lovers, and spouses do this all the time. And mainly to cover up their own transgressions, to cover their own ass fundamentally, and hide from the horrendous relationship crimes they themselves have committed. So the bottom line is, narcissists need to be in a position of perceived superiority, dominance, and control. And although attractive and compelling in the early stages of the relationship, your strength and personal power is going to be very problematic with anyone who lands on the spectrum of destructive narcissism. It's just a question of time. Why? Well, because you'll be too difficult or too hard to handle, which is the same as saying not easy to manipulate, dominate, dupe, deceive, or control. And the reality is, people who are seen as being too strong by the narcissist are indeed individuals who are not easily swayed by the opinions of others. Instead, they're confident, boundaried, self-reliant, and clear individuals who are personally developed enough to be living sovereign lives, independent of the kind of nonsense the narcissist brings to the table. They think for themselves, act for themselves, feel for themselves, trust themselves, and therefore rely on their own good judgment, as well as being grounded in their own good feelings and good opinion of themselves in a balanced and healthy way, in a self-loving and self-accepting way, as opposed to going through life seeking approval and validation from the outside world. Now, needless to say, this is not exactly what the narcissist is looking for when it comes to someone to play their games with. Comment below and let me know whether or not you can relate to any of this. Let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you'd like to learn more about the possibility of working with me in one of my coaching programs, there's a link in the description below this video where you can apply to see if you qualify for a free one-on-one consultation with either myself or a member of my team. In addition, there's also a free gift section in the description below this video, so be sure to avail yourself of that as well. Once the narcissist is triggered by your strength, confidence, courage, and personal power, in addition to assassinating your character behind your back, the narcissist will also jump at every opportunity to discredit, diminish, and demean you. Again, either passively or more directly and aggressively. They'll happily point out any mistakes, flaws, or perceived shortcomings, lest you think too highly of yourself, feel good about yourself in any way, or again, God forbid, anyone else see you in a favorable light. They don't like that. So they'll hold your history and any past mistakes you've ever made over your head with a strange sense of glee. This is just one more tactic they'll use to undermine your sense of self-worth and self-esteem if they can get away with it. They'll take great delight in holding your past against you, and do so repeatedly by holding it up like an old picture on the wall, one they simply refuse to take down, no matter how far you've come, no matter how much you've grown, no matter how much you may have changed in the years or decades since. Anything they can latch onto that can be used against you, they will use. They'll also take great pleasure in honing in on any vulnerabilities with deliberate intent to cause you to doubt and second guess yourself and question your worth. In other words, they will deliberately manufacture and amplify any feelings of guilt, shame, fear, inadequacy, and insecurity within you for no other reason than to keep you in line and feeling inferior, when in reality, it's their own deeply buried, disowned feelings of inferiority that drive all of this nonsense and insanity. And unless you've been on the receiving end of this sort of emotional and psychological abuse, it can be difficult to fathom that people can be this kind of cruel for no other reason than their own fear, shame, and insecurities have been triggered. But I assure you, it happens every day, all day long in the realm of narcissistic abuse. So, what's the solution? Well, if what I've shared here today speaks to you and your experience in any way, there are a few things that I recommend for you to do to A, take care of yourself, protect yourself, and B, outsmart the narcissistic perpetrator. To begin with, start by separating yourself from the narcissist to the best of your ability in order to cut off their source of narcissistic supply. Disengage from the dynamic as much as you're able. Cut and cauterize entirely if you can. Now, if you can't do that, then at the very least be as non-reactive as possible when you're around them. Simply choose to not take the bait or engage. And once you've established what should be at the very least low contact, if not outright no contact, then take time to heal. That's right. Commit to doing your own personal healing and recovery work so you can not only reclaim your power and rebuild your self-confidence, but also so you can break the subconscious magnetic relationship pattern that is causing you to attract this type of narcissistic perpetrator into your life to begin with. Now, last but not least, learn how to set boundaries in a way that works. Becoming a boundary badass is a skill, a life skill few of us were taught, but all of us need. And if you don't know how to set healthy limits and boundaries with confidence and in a way that protects your mental health as well as the quality of your life, it's time to learn. And if you need help with that, you're an excellent candidate for the Freedom Class. Check out the link in the description below. It's time now. And on that note, I'm going to call it a wrap. But before I go, you should know the Ascension class is also open for enrollment. Now, this one's for you if you're ready and able to invest in yourself, you're ready to shift your identity, master the law of attraction, heal your relationship with money, and put a full stop end to the limiting beliefs and self-sabotaging behaviors that are holding you back and preventing you from living your best life. If you're ready to reinvent yourself from the inside out, create your dream life by design, and finally become the you were always meant to be, click the link in the description below this video to apply to see if you qualify for a free one-on-one consultation with either myself or a member of my team.